Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. And if you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. You can see I have Jax with me today. He has figured out that I'm sitting again to do my videos and he thinks that he should be part of them. Today I am going to be sharing books that I want to read because of you. I have done a few of these videos this year, so I will leave links to those in the description box below and you can check out the other books that I want to read. I'm always interested in book recommendations from either fellow booktubers or subscribers, and I often put those recommendations on my TBR. And today's list comes from booktubers that I've watched, and they talked about books that I thought sounded interesting that I would want to read. And it really, that happens like every time that I watch a video, pretty much. But these are ones that I am going to highlight. And I'm also going to highlight recommendations that booktubers and subscribers have left either in comments on my videos and my posts. So I have 10 books to share, so let's get started. I'm going to start with booktuber videos that I watched. And the first is Olive from A Book Olive. I watched her July reading wrap-up, so that's how far back I'm going here. Olive talked about the secret life of lobsters, how fishermen and scientists are unraveling the mysteries of our favorite crustacean. And this is by Trevor Corson. So this sounded interesting to me, and I felt like it had the Soul of an Octopus vibes, which is by Montgomery, which I loved. So I'm hoping that if I ever get to this one, that I will come to love lobsters and appreciate them in a new way like I did with Octopus. And then the next recommendation came from Gemma, from Gem of Books. I watched her video Historathon 3.0 TBR 2022, and she talked about Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, and I thought this sounded interesting. It's set in Iceland, which I love Iceland, and it's based on true events, so I like that. And it kind of gives me Alias Grace vibes. Both stories take place in the 1800s, and like Grace Marks in Burial Rites, the main character, Agnes, is charged with the murder of her master. And she is sent to a farm to wait for her execution, and there seems to be some real intrigue around the details of this murder. Again, that's much like in Alias Grace. So Gemma also mentioned that it might be a good read for winter because it seems dark and isolated. So this is definitely on my radar right now. Next was a video from Monika. Monika's channel is Dog-Eared Musings, and she talked about 4 favorite books about food. So I was most interested in The Abundance by Amit Majmudar, and Monika says this is one of her all-time favorite books, and it's a story about a South Asian family. It's an exploration of family and grief. Now, Monika didn't really say what the connection to food was here, but just the way that she described her feelings after reading the book, it was enough for me to want to give it a try. Okay, next up is a video from Brett Benner, who shared 5 books to read before summer ends. And I know it's now cold and wintry and summer is way over, it has ended. But a book that is still on my radar is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I already talked about The Soul of an Octopus earlier, and Brett mentions in his video the documentary on Netflix, which is really good, My Octopus Teacher, which I loved. And Remarkably Bright Teachers is about a widower who works at an aquarium and bonds with an octopus. So Brett describes it as heartwarming and sweet, and also recommends the audiobook version. So if you're an audiobook lover, this might work for you. I watched Elina M's video, 7 books you can read in one day, because I'm always looking for, recommendations for shorter books. Sometimes I like to sink my teeth into a 500, 600, 700, 800 page book, but sometimes I also like to be able to finish a book in one sitting. So Elina recommended Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrowski, and she said that this has been described as Call Me By Your Name, set in communist Poland. So two characters have an affair and then realize that they are actually on opposite sides of the political spectrum, which drives them apart. So I've also heard that this is really intense and very moving. Next, I watched Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and this was from his August wrap-up, and he talked about Comfort Me with Apples by Catherynne M. Valente, maybe? Or Valente. This was Scott's favorite book of the month, and he said that it's best to go into this with as little information as possible. I do like doing that sometimes. This is a novella that is a slow reveal, which I do sometimes like, and Scott called it clever, fun, and said that I would love it. So I definitely want to check it out. Now I'm going to look at the recommendations that I received from various people in the comments of different videos. So Michael from Michael Romeo Talks Books commented on my 2022 Summer Book Bay tag, and Michael recommended two books by Anne Rivers Siddons, who is an author that I've heard of her, but I've never read her before. And Michael recommended both of these because I enjoy books about female relationships. So first is Colony, which is a multi-generational novel, and it seems with a diverse cast of characters. The main character is Maud, who is brought to Maine from South Carolina by her husband, and she has a hard time fitting in at first. And then the second book is Off Season, which I think from its description appeals to me a bit more than the other one. And this is about Lily, who was happily married to Cam, and when Cam dies, has to figure out what her future holds. So this sounds like it will kind of be an evaluation of the marriage, and it also takes place in Maine. So thanks for those recommendations, Michael. I appreciate that very much. Now, for subscribers who have recommended some books, Karen Wetherald commented on a video that I did about 30 Canadian authors to watch for, and that was according to CBC. And she added to the list with The Pump by Sidney Hegele, and she may also go by Sydney Warren Bruman. At the time that Karen made this recommendation, I had actually never heard of this book before, but then since then it has popped up on a few different lists, Canadian lists. So this is a collection of short stories which all have The Pump, which is a small southern Ontario town, as its setting. At least that's what I think it is. The stories are described as eerie and horrifying, and there are beavers and family drama, which I enjoy. So I am definitely willing to try this one out. And I do kind of like short story collections that are a bit on the edge, so these sound like they will fit that. Another commenter and subscriber, Euphoric Impact, who watched my video Short Stories and Poetry Collections you can read in one day, gave me two recommendations. The first is What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Carver, and this is a short story collection. Euphoric Impact says that he has a very unique way of setting tone and unlocking doors. The other recommendation is by Percival Everett, who we've been hearing a lot about this year, and it's called Damned If I Do, and Percival Everett is a new to me author this year that I do want to read. The Trees has definitely made a huge splash, and Euphoric Impact says that this collection is good if you like exploring the human condition. So this definitely has my attention as well. Next is a recommendation from one of my subscribers, Glenda W. She commented on my video Another Top 10 List, and she recommended Elizabeth is Missing by Emma Healey. This is a debut and a psychological mystery, and this is about an elderly woman with dementia who she believes that her friend has disappeared, and she begins a search for the friend. So I think that I can see where this is going, but my hope is that it won't be so obvious and that it will have a few twists and turns along the way. Plus, this is a new author for me to try. And then the last book on the list of books that I want to read because of all of you comes from Amanda T, who commented on my 901 books tag. She recommended a non-fiction book by Steve Ryan, and it's called The Ghosts That Haunt Me. This is about 6 cases that shaped his career as a homicide detective in Toronto. So that in itself sounds interesting to me. And Amanda said that it was a 5-star read because it gave her all the feels. And she said it's unusual that a book makes her cry. So I love books that can evoke so much emotion. So this has gone on my TBR as well. Thank you to everyone who has given book recommendations. Please keep them coming. There were many others, but these are just the ones that I wanted to highlight for now. And I always appreciate when you comment with books that you think I would enjoy. I really do check them all out, and I eventually hope to read them and get to some of those. Please let me know if you have read any of these, or if there are any that have kind of piqued your curiosity as well. Are there any that you think I should try first? I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.